it's a fantasy movie, but everybody was so hung up on it. So on the second movie, I would tell people, it's not sharks, it's not tornadoes, it's a Sharknado, and the rules are what we make it. If we decide that they're going to take down an airplane, they can because they're Sharknado sharks. Much like we can have a lava-nado because we'd say so. And I think that's the magic of it. If you explain it, then it kind of loses the magic. In number 5, we go about trying to explain that, yeah, maybe the Sharknadoes have been around for a very long time, but we actually have, even though we don't explain it in the movie, we have a full explanation in our heads that makes it a huge loop that goes back to the idea that it doesn't really explain why they happen. They're just the force of nature. So that's, and in this new movie, we have a new thing called a Vortex-nado, which allows us to not have to put actors on planes and trains to another country. They just get sucked up into the vortex and land somewhere, and it allows us great story latitude. What? Space holes? Magical space holes, yes.
How did the phenomena of the cameo get started, and how was that evolution?
The evolution of the cameo, I was thinking about that recently. Excuse me, drink a little water. So they wanted to get cameos for Sharknado 2, and more in the line of let's get, like, we got Vivica Fox, we got Judd Hirsch in the film playing a taxi driver. We were talking about, oh, if we're going to do a taxi driver, well, we should have Judd Hirsch. Then we were going to do and I think this is the turning point. We did have, every role was basically filled by somebody, and that was just kind of it's like the 1970s disaster movies. You had Ernest Borgnine and Shelley Winters. That was kind of the idea behind it. We did the airplane kind of thing at the beginning, which was an homage to the Twilight Zone episode, Nightmare at 25,000 Feet. And we were in New York, and my wife and daughter, I decided, because we were doing the airplane thing, to watch Airplane and Airplane 2. So we were watching the movies, and my wife says, you should get Robert Hayes to play the pilot in Sharknado. And I'm like, you're right, that would be the best idea. And I called the producer right after that. I said, we need Robert Hayes to play the pilot. And the producer was like, no, it'll just make the movie jokey. We can't do that. It's like, we need Robert Hayes to play the pilot. It's like, no, we can't do it. No, we need to do this. And he goes, okay, as long as he doesn't make any airplane references. And like, I'm going, sure, we're not going to make any airplane references in the film. So then we snuck airplane references in there. And so the moment Robert Hayes appeared at the beginning of 2, like, anybody that had any doubt that the first movie we weren't in on the joke, because we were making fun of disaster movies and having fun and stuff. People thought we were making a serious movie and failed miserably, which was not the intention. I just watched it again last night at the Tampa Theater, and it reminded me that what our intent was. But number 2, the moment that you saw Robert Hayes and we watched it with an audience, it just changed. And you saw, like, okay, everybody was with us at that point, and that was our most successful movie in terms of ratings. And so once the Robert Hayes thing happened, I think with 3 and 4 and 5, it became a thing of getting people that had some kind of tie to something and then working that into the narrative, or having them do a line or a reference and stuff. So that's the evolution of the cameos, and it's been really fun. Because every day, like, this new movie, we got Olivia Newton-John, who we wanted for number 3. And we've been going after her for the longest time. So to have Olivia Newton-John playing this scientist who rebuilds April, that's awesome. That was like so cool to have her on set. And then we had a Pope scene. And we needed a Pope. So in Sharknado world, Fabio makes the most sense to play the Pope. And for the Queen of England, we have Charo. So it's our own universe. So you're going to love the cameos in the new movie. And we have someone right there. Sorry, we got her. I'll get you in 2 seconds.
What type of special effects did you use for the movies?
Well, in the first movie, we were foolish enough to think that we could have practical shark things and it would work. After not listening to what Spielberg went through on Jaws and anybody else that's tried to do these things, I also didn't know what the visual effects guys could do, so I come for practical makeup effects, so I wanted to do a bunch of stuff practical. So we went out to the Santa Monica, in the beach in Santa Monica, and we had built sort of a partial shark just to kind of move in the water. We had practical fins, and it was time consuming. We had an underwater camera that just didn't work the way we thought. It was bulky. We were trying to shoot people in the water. At a certain point, the camera got so far away from our cast that we were running out of time. So in the first movie, I was there with my camera guy in the water. I just threw off my shirt and pretended to die because we wouldn't have got a shot of someone being sucked under the water. So we did some practical stuff, and we have some practical fins, but ultimately it's all visual effects. It's all put in post. You know, we have our visual effects artists, and they create the sharks, and some of the coolest gags come from their imagination of what we intended. Like Ian on the fire truck in number 2, the idea was supposed to cut it in 2, so we did it in slow motion. But what made that shot so iconic is the way they designed it, and the animator, Neil, actually got the anatomy of a shark, so when it cuts, you actually see the inside, and it's just a beautiful shot. So then a lot of credit goes to those guys for really bringing these things to life. And it's a lot easier to do visual effects than it is to do practical because of the time that we need to do the movies. So you'll have a little bit of little shark pieces, but most of it, it's all animation. And so we had someone right here. Right here? Right here?
Do you think you might partner with Mystery Science Theater again for any of the sequels, do some riffing?
Yeah, we did. They did. Riff Tracks did 1 and 2. And there's grumblings of something else, but I'm not sure exactly what that's going to be. But that was such an honor. Like, again, people think, oh, people were making fun. No, that was so cool to have them riffing on our film. And the thing is that when you're stuck in an editing room for like 3 months with no air and no life, and it's this black hole, you start picking the movie apart. And you start saying things about your movie that you would never want anybody to ever hear. And so I think we say worse things than anything in Mystery Science Theater can say or anybody else can say. And it's good fun when we do it, but we're always nitpicking everything. And you also, just as a filmmaker, you sit there going, God, I'm terrible, this doesn't work, and then you find a way to make it cut together, and you go, oh, now it's a movie. Let's go here. You and then you.
After Sharknado 5, will you be making Sharknado 6, or will you move on to a different sci-fi movie, or?
Will I do something else, or will I continue to do the Sharknado? Is that what you're asking? Luckily, I've been able to do things in between Sharknado movies. Last fall, I did a thriller for Lifetime, surprisingly enough, called Forgotten Evil. So that's coming out on DVD in August. It's completely different. It's people talking and suspense. It's completely different than Sharknado. But the only way Sharknado 6 can happen is that everybody watches Sharknado 5 and everybody tweets, and it becomes the same event that it's been in the last few years. It's just all about ratings. So if there's an audience still there, I mean, we're on our 5th movie, and there's still this massive interest in these movies. So that's the flattering thing. We have ideas for what we could do if there was another one, but you know, it's up to you guys. Do you want to see a Sharknado 6?
Yeah!
Of the 4 movies so far, which is your favorite? All of them. Okay. All right. Good. So our question is, did we ever have any shark consultants or anything on these movies? Not really. we shoot sharks from the sky. You know, at a certain point on the first movie, I did a little research, and in the original script, the very opening, if you remember, on the boat, it was a half a page, and it was people on a boat are killed by a shark tornado, and that was all that was said. I'm like, well, if we're going to be on a boat for filming purposes, that would probably take a day for like a quarter of a page. We didn't have the time to do that. So if we're going to do it, let's make a movie out of it. We need to have 4 or 5 pages. So I thought it would be fun to kind of do like the drug deal gone wrong on a boat in a shootout, but with sharks, you know, shark fins. And so part of that, there's the little commentary that we have in it was about, you know, shark finning and stuff and how bad it is. And so that was actually our attempt at doing that. But, you know, at a certain point, there's sharks coming from the sky, and I think that part of the I think part of why you guys are here for the positive parts of sharks is that we do the silly part of it. It's fantasy. They're Sharknados. They're not sharks. So, you know, would I like to put a little bit more in there? I don't know. I think if it was more real, it would be horrible. You know, because I already feel bad. Like watching the first movie, they're douchebags. They're like just killing things. Like he just sets the pool on fire and burns all those sharks. And I'm like, what we were like originally it was supposed to be danger, but we had no time to film it properly, so he's just burning sharks. So yeah, so it's that weird thin line. We're not condoning doing stuff like that. Do not take chainsaws to sharks, and do not be swallowed by a shark thinking you can chainsaw your way out of a shark. But I think we all know that, right?
Yeah, true.
All right, let's go first.
Will there ever be a megalodon in the series?
We do a megalodon. We haven't done, I don't think we've done a megalodon yet. But the company Asylum, they also do the Mega Shark movies, which is essentially the megalodon. But, you know, there's a sixth one, there actually might be a place for a megalodon. So, you know, I think we've started doing a variety of different sharks since the last, like when we got to 4, it's like, okay, we can't just keep having great whites and hammerheads, so we've been mixing it up a lot more. And you have these models in visual effects, like they create a model of this kind of shark or that kind of shark. And so they knew they had to open it up, and so they built new models for each subsequent movie. A shark that I really like, which we haven't done too, is the goblin shark. You know, I really like those, but how to put that in the movie and really make that work is kind of tricky. I tried actually doing a identifiable shark in the second movie, and I was kind of shut down, but I kind of snuck it in. It's a shark that bites Taryn's arm off, April's arm off in the second movie. It has a scar on its face, and the idea was that it was following them. And in my head, I was kind of thinking of Jaws 4. I was like, okay, this is the one shark that's really pissed off at I, and he's just going to get revenge. But Mythbusters, you know, I think we had talked to the Mythbusters at some point, or they reached out to them. I don't know what happened with them. We almost had the Impractical Jokers in this movie, but it was one, like the week they were available, we were in New York doing something else with the Today Show, so it didn't work out. I was looking forward to having them in the movie because that would have been a blast.
Yeah. Oh.
Exactly how long did it take you to come up with the name Sharknado?
I give credit to Jake, and I think it was 2 seconds. We're going, what is the crazy, like I said, what is it literally was that kind of conversation. We are pitching in like an hour, what do we have? Lava sharks, and I was like, okay, let's do something with sharks, and he goes, Sharknado, and that was it. It's as simple as that. It was the combination of two really silly things, a disaster with with sharks, so.
If you could have any actor or actress in your movies, like any actor or actress, who would it be?
We have 2 bucket list people. Bill Murray.
Oh, no.
We wanted him to play the president in the 3rd movie, and then we've had different opportunities. Like we desperately have wanted him in the movie, but he's impossible to find. You have to like find a secret number. He doesn't have a manager. We've thought of doing like a viral thing online to try to get his attention. But then we wouldn't even know if he would show up, and the way we do these movies, that we couldn't wait around. But he's bucket list. If Bill Murray's out there, or sitting in the crowd here right now, yeah, please come. We'll go shoot your cameo right now in the parking lot, and we'll bank it. Clint Eastwood, go ahead, make my day shooting a shark. That would be that. So sometimes we're surprised the people that will do the movie. Mark Cuban playing the president in the third movie. Now, here's the interesting thing. On number 3, the original person who was supposed to play the President of the United States was going to be Donald Trump. That's no lie. It was a scheduling thing. And now I kind of actually believe that he still thinks he's in Sharknado. So, because no one bothered to tell him. So, everything's like, oh, this is great. No, this is real. This is real. So, but that would actually have been fun to have him in the film. But I love Mark Cuban. I think Mark Cuban was the best president we could have ever had. He just got so invested into it, him running around with a shotgun in the White House. It's some of my favorite stuff in the franchise. So we had a blast with that. So I'll get you in a second, but let's get this new person here. Go ahead.
Would you consider doing time travel?
What is it?
Time travel.
You know, that's something we've talked about. There's a bunch of different things we've spoken about. Maybe it depends on if it makes sense. Everything is like even though we say, oh, maybe what would we do in the next movie, we're so busy on the actual current film. We would die or jump into a vat of oil to think that we'd have to do this again until we have to think about it. But yeah, I mean, there's an obvious thing there. Each one of these movies, for me as a filmmaker, to keep it fresh, they're their own genre. So the first movie was LA, a disaster movie. Second one was this big New York thing. We did space and White House espionage. We did a superhero. We did action adventure. So that's certainly something. Thunder, who wrote the first 4 movies, has said, we should do aliens. So, and someone asked me last night about would you do zombies. I think it just. As long as it's about, I think the key to these movies that separates them from all these other shark-related low-budget movies is you love April and Finn. Tara Reid and Ian Ziering and that family is the heart of the film. Even if you think it's about the sharks, you care about their journey. So what it always is about is what are we doing with them, and what's the story that works for that, and that's how it comes about. So, there you go.
Yeah, what the craziest thing happened?
Shooting or
no, on the set.
On the set. The craziest thing. There are so many crazy things that have happened. I mean, going around like 5 different countries with a crew of 5 people, thinking we can actually make a movie internationally like we make it in the U.S. is crazy. But what I'll say is probably the craziest thing in my memory, because I just saw one. We decided to do the scene with the shark in the house in Sharknado 1. And flooding a house is not an easy thing to do. So I had the harebrained idea of, let's build a set in a swimming pool. There was an empty swimming pool in Van Nuys. Remember, we're low budget. So we get out there, and it's probably half this size and half finished and made of plywood, and it's not heated. And so we had to, at the last minute, like we shut down for 3 hours while the art department finished the set. And it was literally like this. Like, it was not even like this. We had the stairwell and all that stuff. We shot there 2 nights. It was freezing cold. The actors froze to death. I was in this dumbwaiter thing. And the set was literally collapsing around us. After we were done, the Griffin Electric people that do the lighting going, yeah, that was dangerous. The thing went in the water. You guys would all get electrocuted. It's like, why did you not tell us that was the case? Because that's not a good thing, and your job is to tell us that we would all die being in that water. But that was actually crazy, because it works in the film. But when you see that is not a house. That is a flimsily constructed set that was literally falling apart around us.
Wow.
So,
that's crazy.
Huh? He was great. That's another. Corey Taylor from Slipknot was in the 4th movie, and again, he just kind of showed up. He was there for probably no more than 30 minutes. I do a lot of the songs in the film with Robbie Rist, who you might know him from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and he was on Brady Bunch. He was Cousin Oliver. So we write a lot of the songs, including the theme song in the movie. So whenever we get music people, it's just like awesome. Like we had Paul Schaefer in the last movie, and having him sing one of our songs was amazing. So we love doing that, and we'll continue to do it when we can. We have Brett Michaels in the new movie. So we have somebody over here.
What's your favorite shark?
Great white. It's Jaws. Great white. Has to be. Another question? Okay. Go ahead.
Now that you're directing, do you aspire to go on to bigger and better things, so away from sci-fi?
Yeah. I mean, the thing about there's people that do things that overnight they luck out and they do in big studio movies, or they luck out and get a big thing. And sometimes you hear from them, sometimes they disappear. This has sort of been a slow, steady thing. My first movie was a horror film called Boo, which you can see on Hulu. It came out about 10 years ago. And so I was doing, under $1 million low-budget horror films, which I love. Horror movies I have a passion about. But I also am a filmmaker. I've always liked comedy. I like absurd stuff. And so when Sharknado happened, it opened up the door. People weren't looking at me for horror necessarily. They were going, oh, he can do action, he can do visual effects, he can do comedy. I've had people send me scripts for comedy. Each one of these things is a stepping stone to become a better filmmaker and to get bigger and better stuff. But to me, it's not the sprint, it's the marathon. So, I think that, as these things go on and the opportunities that keep popping up for me, I'm getting these opportunities to do different things. If they put from the director of Sharknado on a Lifetime movie, which they didn't, you go, okay, what is this movie? They didn't do that, but I made a Lifetime movie. I made a film which is about emotions and people talking, because I'm a filmmaker. And so as long as I could continue to make films, I was in 6th grade. I remember going, I want to make movies, and I came from a small town in Northern California, had no access to anything, and so I tried to figure out how could I get into the industry. And so I started writing movie reviews. I started out as a journalist, knowing that I wanted to make movies. So if I couldn't make them at that time, I was writing about them. And then finally I got access to cameras and then access to local access and be able to edit. And I just kept finding ways of learning. I would cover film sets. I started writing for Fangoria, and they would send me down to LA, and I would go and watch people make low-budget films. And that opened up everything. I went to San Francisco State for film. I moved to LA, I was a PA, I did special makeup effects, kept writing scripts, kept doing short films, and then I got the chance to do it. So I'm grateful for this, because they don't want you in Hollywood if you're not, there's a lot of nepotism there. If you're rich and you have, kids and something, you can get them in, but I had to kind of keep going into the back doors. And I was okay just making low-budget movies, but to have something like Sharknado that became a phenomenon that allows me to continue to make movies, that's all it is about. As long as I can continue to make movies, because I love making movies, that's the goal. If I can have bigger budgets, I would love it. But also I enjoy the fact that, we created a global phenomenon with chewing gum and duct tape. And we didn't buy it. The marketing for the other movies had been big, but we didn't buy the people coming to the first movie. There wasn't billboards, there wasn't commercials on other networks. It was just people showed up. It's like American Idol. People just showed up, and that became the first big singing competition show. The first viral video this was the first. We were the first communal movie-going experience on Twitter for a movie on TV. More people talked about Sharknado than the movies that came out in that month 5 years ago in theaters. And that was zero marketing. So that's the thing that I feel grateful for, and that, again, I can continue to make movies, because I love it. And so, anyway. And that's for any kid out there. Just go for your dreams, because it's kind of like one of my best friends, Stacy over here, knew me in high school, and I was the weird kid or whatever, and she was always cool to me, and so it's neat that she saw me from the beginning, and now I'm making these movies, and I always said I want to make movies. And so it can happen. It's just you have to be patient, and you have to find ways of doing it and getting to that point. So you can do whatever you want, you just have to work hard at it and take chances and not give up. Because it was 10 years from the time I moved to LA to the time I got Boo, and it was almost 10 years-ish, 8 years until Sharknado blew up. So it's not an overnight thing. Everybody thinks these things happen overnight. They don't.
With all the cameos, how many of those people came to you like, hey, I want to be in your movie?
Actually, the practical jokers happened because I was at Comic-Con and ran into them. They go, we want to be in Sharknado, which of course it didn't work out timing-wise on this movie. But we do get a lot of people that want to be in these movies. And it's always about scheduling. But we do these fast. So usually the night before, it's like, we need someone to fill this role. Okay, here we go. We got this person. You're writing something on the spot. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember some of the people that were lobbying for it, but we always have people. It's a never-ending thing. It's if you go into the casting director's office, on the board there's like all these people. On the fourth movie, we had like probably 100 people that committed. We can only fit like 40 of them in there. So every day it's like, well, who do you want for this? It's like, well, see, let's get, Drew Carey wanted to do it, but it didn't work out for his schedule. We go, let's put him in the Chainsaw Store. Okay, his schedule doesn't work because you moved that date. Let's get Dog the Bounty Hunter, and that's how that happened. So it's a lot of weird, again, this isn't normal movie making. It's, there's another part of Sharknado is there's an energy of desperation that you have to make a movie in 12 hours. You have to shoot stuff in 12 hours. You can't sit around going, well, I don't have this boat. I'm not going to do anything. Get me a boat. It's like, all right, well, I have a tractor and I have 2 actors, and then you just come up with something on the spot. Little guy right there. You got a mic for him?
Yes.
Is Sharknado 4 The Force Awakens based on Star Wars The Force Awakens?
It's not based on Star Wars The Force Awakens. It was just a clever marketing thing. How that happened was we knew we were doing the 4th movie and we didn't have a title. And I was talking to one of my guys that do like title treatments and stuff, and we were going, you know, the obvious title for this movie is The Force Awakens. And we were going to do the scroll for Star Wars regardless for the 4th movie, because in the 3rd movie we did the James Bond parody. And we didn't tell anybody that we were gonna pitch that. And then Sci-Fi came to us like 2 months later going, we want to call it The Force Awakens. It's like, hey, that's a great idea. Because you never want to be the person that tells them that. You want them to come up with it. So everybody was coming up with that title, and it just seemed obvious. Global Swarming was the harder one. The 5th movie coming up with a subtitle was impossible. Like we were Raiders of the Lost Sharks was one of them. Sharknado 5 Earth Zero. I think what's the other one? 50 Shades of Shark. So I mean, it's just not an easy thing to do for. But then somebody on Twitter came up with something for if there's a 6th one that I thought was clever, and now I can't even remember. I can't even remember what it was, but if I remember, I'll mention it. Who's got another question? There.
So, I was wondering, in the universe of Sharknado, before the events of the 1st movie, are Sharknadoes like a common thing that happens, or was that just like, why is there a Sharknado? We don't even know what to call this.
Let's see. I feel like Sharknadoes have kind of existed, but they've never necessarily been in something. No one could really quantify it. Maybe it picked up some stuff, but I sort of feel like in 2013 that's when they formed in that movie. Now again, this new movie, we kind of say that Sharknadoes have existed in the past, but how they existed in the past, you have to see the movie to see exactly what that means. But like I said, doesn't necessarily mean that that's the true answer, because we don't answer those questions. Global warming, that was another thing too about, kind of mixing in a little social commentary. There's a little note that global warming might be responsible for this, but like I said, I'd rather people just interpret why this happened. I think that you have earthquakes and you have tidal waves because you need to kind of clear the palate. And I also think these sharks were kind of pissed off. So, it's a combination. Way to avoid it. I could be a politician, right? Another question. This question is there any way to be an extra in Sharknado? Usually when we're shooting in a city, they do a call out for people to be an extra. When we're in Orlando, we had a lot of locals. So if we're actually shooting in your city, that's the easiest way. Obviously, we don't fly people out to Bulgaria, which you would not want to go there, trust me. It's the coldest winter in the history of Bulgaria when we went to Bulgaria. It was cold. So, but yeah, that's how it works for being an extra. Any other questions? No more questions? Oh, we got one person there?
I'm just wondering if you plan to release any kind of collector's set on DVD with an absurd action figure in the future?
We do. There exists a 3-pack for the first 3 movies right now. And I know they have like the little Funko Sharknadoes. I don't know if you've seen those. Funko that does those little fun pop vinyl things. They did a Sharknado one about 3 years ago. So there's a lot of interesting merchandise. Again, this is a little movie. This isn't a studio film, and we have slot machines now for Sharknado. I wrote the Archie versus Sharknado comic book for number 3, which was a blast. So to have Archie and Sharknado in the same word, you know, is just phenomenal. So there's a lot of cool stuff out there. Okay, we got time for one more question, and he is going to be. Let's do you right there.
What age did you start?
Making movies?
Yes.
Okay, well, I wanted to make movies when I was in 6th grade, so that probably meant I was 11. When I was able to get a camera and start doing stuff, I was in high school. And so probably 16, 17. And they didn't have a film program at my high school, but the community college had a film program. And they made an exception to let me go and be in that program. And that's how it started. So once I got access to editing and cameras, that's all I did. And we just kept shooting things and making movies and doing silly things. I did sort of a parody of martial arts movies where we went out and shot a bunch of unrelated footage and tried to cut it together into a movie and then dubbed over dialogue to make a story, which basically led to Sharknado, I guess, because that's kind of what we do. But that's the evolution. It just kind of happened slowly, and right now the great thing is that anybody can make movies because you can do it with your iPhones, you can do it with, you know, these cheap cameras, and the editing is all there. When I was doing this, you didn't have full access to that, so you had to be a little more clever in being able to do that. So I'm going to be over here signing. We have some posters, but I also have DVDs for sale. We also, the theme song, Ballad of Sharknado, Robbie and I did, we made a limited edition run of 500 vinyl 45-inch singles, so we have those for sale too if you want one of those. I thank everybody for coming out. Sharknado 5, Global Swarming, August 6th on Sci-Fi. Thank you for coming out to Sharkcon and supporting Sharkcon. Please support every year. Spencer's doing an amazing job. Thank you for listening to me babble, and thank you guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, make a bunch of noise for Anthony C. Farrantae and Sharknado. Coming to the main stage in just a couple of